Welcome back from the lunch break. Council, if we are ready to continue, please proceed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, and members of the audience. We have a witness who's presently in the United States, so the hearing would be on Skype. Mr. Witness, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. Mr. Witness, we've never met. My name is...
Yes, we have.
My name is Esa Mbaifal, and my role this afternoon is to help you through your testimony.
Okay.
Fantastic. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Good. Of course, I mean, you are testifying as a victim, but it helps to remind witnesses that it's a criminal offense to lie under oath in this country and also to provide false testimony to the TRRC. I'm sure you are aware of that.
Yes, I am fully aware.
Good. We want to talk to you about a few things that happened to you in Gambia.
Okay.
Concerns your arrest and detention at the NIA in the Gambia in connection with information found on the Freedom newspaper website suggesting that you have visited the website. And we would also like to discuss with you the things that happened to you during the period of your arrest and how you managed to live with that over time and the impact it has had on you and your family. Do you understand me, sir?
Yes, I do.
Good. Before you start, could you make an affirmation to speak the truth and repeat these words after me? I, Alhaji KABBA KANYI.
I, Alhaji KABBA KANYI.
Hereby affirm.
Hereby affirm.
That I would speak the truth.
That I would speak the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much, Mr. KANYI. What are your full names?
I have a couple. So my legal name on my passport is
yes, go ahead.
Alhaji KABBA KANYI, but at home, my parents, actually my mom calls me Baba KABBA because I was named after her dad. And my dad calls me Alhaji KABBA along with my classmates when I was in Gambia. But now in the United States, most people call me KABBA KANYI.
Okay.
So yeah, a couple of names.
So you are Alhaji KABBA KANYI, you are Baba KABBA, you are KABBA, you are Ndoke, you are all that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a lot of names, I'm a lot of things. Depends on who I'm speaking with.
Good. You currently live in the United States, don't you?
Yes, in Seattle, Washington State, in Seattle.
Okay. Since when did you move to the United States?
In 2011, March 2011.
March 2011. And you were born on 30 August 1990, correct?
Yep.
Tell us about your background, where you went to primary, secondary, and university education.
Okay. So I was born and raised in Gambia. I was born in Pakistan, where I was raised. And until
Mr. KANYI, the audio is not very good. And the audio is not very good. I do not know how you could solve that problem, Perhaps maybe it's because you are either too far away or too close to the...
Is it too low?
It doesn't come out really clearly, so I don't know what can be done to solve that. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can, actually. Pretty clearly.
That seems better. I don't know whether the earpieces you had anything to do with it. But you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so tell us about your education. You were born in Gambia, you were raised in Churchillstown. Tell us about your education.
Yes. I went to first chunk of my life as a kid. I went to levels from nursery to primary to middle school, and then I transferred over to African International School.
According to your statements, you did nursery and junior high at Ndaus, right?
Yes.
And then you transferred to West African International School. That's WISE for Form 4 and Form 5, yeah? And then you moved to Marina in 2007, where you did A-levels, correct?
Yes.
Oh,
That's
good.
correct.
And after Marina, you moved to the United States, where you studied electrical engineering.
Yes, that's in Washington State University, studied electrical engineering, and now I am working as an electrical engineer for a company designing and building electronic systems.
Yes, I am really having difficulty hearing you clearly. I don't know whether it's the same with the commissioners. It is the same. So we have to find a solution to this. And one of my approaches would be to lead a lot of the information so you'd confirm whether that is right or wrong. As soon as we are able to hear you very clearly, I hope the technicians will work on it. Could you say again?
A little closer.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That's better. That sounds a whole lot better now.
Okay, yeah, it might have been a little.
Okay, good. So you now work as an electrical engineer, building electronic systems in Seattle.
Yes.
Good. But during your high school days, when you were 14 or 15?
15.
15, you had a problem in Gambia, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Could you tell us about it?
Okay, so it all started, it wasn't a normal day, go to school, come back, and, on this particular day when I came home, I was informed that I had missed a phone call, and the guy said he wanted to speak about which,
the guy said what? Could you take that again?
The guy said he wanted to speak about.
Okay.
At this time, I wasn't at home. Someone else picked it up. And I was told that when I came back, there was this lady that told me I had missed a phone call. I wanted to speak to KABBA. I thought
let me in here. You received information when you arrived at home that somebody called and wanted to speak to Baba. Is that it?
Yes. Yeah.
Proceed, please.
Yeah, and I thought it was a little weird because not a lot of people have a name that warm or someone really close to me. So I didn't really think much of it. And I just said, okay, I'll just wait for him to go back. And
did the person
after
call back?
Yes, he did. He called back about 9 p.m. And this time around, I was home watching TV with my dad. And again, and I got on the phone.
Again, what? We missed that.
He mentioned that the guy wanted to speak to KABBA.
Let me guess what you just said. And this time around, he said again he wanted to speak to Baba. Is that it?
Yeah. Yes.
Proceed.
So yeah, I mean, because he used that name, I was assuming it had to be that really close to me. It was just weird. Anyway, I just spoke with the guy. He said he had a package from me from my brother that's in Maryland. And
did you have any reason at this stage to suspect anything?
No, I did not, because it must have been either like a coincidence or he somehow knew I was expecting a package from my brother at the time.
So you were expecting something from your brother, so you had no reason to suspect anything?
Yes. Somehow, I think it must have been luck for him, or some weird coincidence, I don't know.
Or some information he may have
information, it could have been that. It could have been. You know, that's my theory, at least. That's actually what I think happened. And he said he was staying at the Palmarima Hotel, and I don't remember what he said exactly, but he had the emergency, and then I had to pick my package up that night. And which was a little difficult because our driver went holiday, and my brother was out, and I was 15, and I could drive, but I would never drive. And my dad actually never left home past 8 or 9 p.m. So it seemed like it wasn't going to happen. But somehow I convinced my dad to take me to Palmarima and pick up a package from this guy. He definitely grumbled a little bit, but he agreed to take me.
Mr. Kanyi, I have been advised that it is better if you use your earpiece. I don't know whether it would work, but let's try that and see, because you're barely audible.
So I was actually trying to do that, but for some reason my laptop set up Bluetooth, it wouldn't show up. So what usually happens is I probably need to restart my laptop. It probably take 2 minutes.
Let's take 2 minutes and you try to sort it out. It is important that people know exactly what you're saying.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, thank you. Sort it out with the technicians. Obi Van, sort it out with the witness, and then come back to us. Mr. Kanyi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I think it's a little clearer now.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, fantastic. Before that technical break, you were telling us that you received a telephone call this time around in the evening, and
Yes.
you were told that there was a package for you from a brother in Maryland, right?
Yeah.
Could you proceed, please?
Yeah. So when he said that, it was pretty late at night, and I had no way of getting it because my dad normally doesn't leave home any time around 8 or 9 p.m. and my brother was out and our driver had left for the day. And I was 15. I could drive, but my dad would never let me drive.
You were
So I had to convince him to take me.
You were underage at the time. You could not have been allowed.
I could drive, but no one will ever let me drive. So I could drive, but no one would ever let me.
So the laws of this country at the time would not permit
I
you
know.
to drive, correct?
I know.
Because you were too young, right?
Yeah, but yeah, and my dad would never let me anyway. So.
And then what happened after that?
So he grumbled a little bit, but he ended up taking me. So as soon as we approached Palmarima, the gate, I kind of noticed something that, that was really unsettling. We saw 4 men dressed in all black with standing by a sports car that was all tinted with no nameplates. And as soon as we started pulling in,
no number plate you meant to say.
Yeah, no number plates, yeah.
Okay, proceed, please.
As soon as we started pulling into Palmarima, they started kind of surrounding our vehicle. And one of them, who I think was the leader, went onto my dad's side of the car.
Were you able to recognize the person?
No, I could not. I didn't know them. I've never seen them in my life.
Proceed.
And he went on to tell my dad that he was with the National Intelligence Agency and they're conducting an investigation. And he first asked if I was KABBA, and my dad said yes. And then he proceeded to say that he was with the NIA, and then they're conducting an investigation, and they'll have to take me away. I think my dad thought about resisting, but he didn't, because I think he knew it wasn't the smart thing to do in that moment. So they pretty much just yanked me out of the car and just threw me in their vehicle. And I had one of them sit on either side of me. The guy who seemed to be the leader drove the vehicle, and the 4th guy was on the passenger side.
Did your father follow in tow, or he did not?
Yes, he did. And this reminds me of something my dad told me after it all ended. He told me it was definitely the most difficult decision he's ever had made in his life, because we don't know who those people are.
Could you take that again? And perhaps it is best if you sit steady. The movement may not go down well with the technical difficulties that we have. So,
yeah, it was my chair was rocking a little bit. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So if you sit steady, perhaps maybe we may be able to hear everything you say. So take that again. Yeah.
So they took me away, and my dad later told me that he was. It was the most difficult decision he'd ever had to make, because he knew who those guys were. Letting your 15-year-old son be taken away by people that he knows kill people. He did follow us for a while, and then he said he turned around before we got to Denton Bridge.
I mean, of course, at this time, young as you were, you must have known something about NIA, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
What did you know about the NIA at the time?
Okay, so good you ask, because a few days earlier, I was driving home with our driver, and we were actually discussing these same people that were apparently came to pick me up, we were talking about how they had recently arrested somebody, some people, or something, whatever they did, and we were kind of just sympathizing with those people, and you know how scared they must have been being picked up by those scary people. And a few days later, I was arrested.
To put it in
And
context, why were you sympathizing with those people?
because we knew, I mean, at the time, I mean, the TRRC now is actually proving what these people were doing. But at the time, a lot of these things were rumors, and you would hear people being killed and thrown in rivers and stuff. So, so we were just discussing that, and we were just saying how sorry we felt for people that have to go through such treatments. And it was just crazy because a few days later, I was that person.
And how did it feel? Just at that instance, you told us how your father felt. It was the most difficult decision for him to make, to have his son yanked out from his car and put in a car of strangers who were at the time rumored to be killers and torturers. How did you personally feel being yanked from the security of your father's vehicle into and thrown into the vehicle of these people?
Honestly, as a 15-year-old, I was extremely confused, as you could assume. Time literally stood still for me. In my head, I'm telling myself, sorry.
Proceed, please.
Yeah, in my head, I was telling myself that I am going to die today.
Why did you think you were going to die?
Because at the time, I was pretty sure who those people were.
And who did you think they were?
The junglers, as they were called.
So at this stage, you knew about the name junglers?
I did.
So the existence of the junglers was a known secret in this country at the time?
Yes, I was fully aware of who those people were. And
And were you also
when I was picked up, I knew right away, these are the guys.
Were you also aware of the work they did?
Yes.
What was the work they did at the time?
They carry out executions and they torture people. They make people disappear. And the moment I got in that car, I was 100% sure this was going to be my fate that night.
At this stage, a 15-year-old child, you knew these people were killers. Did you also
Yes, I feel like a lot of people did.
Did you know why they were doing these killings, or at whose behest they were doing these killings?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I did know that a lot of these killings and tortures were being carried out in the name of the president or his affiliate. I don't know. But I knew for a fact that they were carrying out these horrendous acts.
You did say in the name of who?
The former president, sorry.
What's his name?
Yahya Jammeh.
How did you come to know this?
Just rumors and, just people talking about the fact that the junglers and what they do, and just being around people talking about them.
So it was...
And that's exactly the people that I was talking about with our driver a couple of days prior.
So is it your testimony that it was common knowledge that the junglers were doing this at the behest of the former president? Yahya Jammeh?
Yeah, I think it was common knowledge.
So now that you were thrown inside this vehicle, sandwiched by two junglers, one of them sitting in front, and you are driving, heading towards Banjul. Tell us what happened.
Yeah. So the moment we got in the car, literally seconds after we got in that car, they started torturing me.
How were they torturing you?
The only way I can describe it is that they did not, whatever they was coming into it, they did not adjust when they saw that this was a 15-year-old. They were torturing me like an adult.
I missed that apart from what you said, that this is not what you do to a 15-year-old. Could you take us through that again so we know exactly what they did to you?
So the moment I got in the car, sandwiched between two grown men in two different they started just hitting me in my face, slapping me, punching me.
How many of them?
Four.
Four of them hitting you?
Yes, apart from the driver, but he would actually at some point turn around, hit me in the face.
How many blows did you receive?
They literally tortured me from Marima all the way to Banjul.
So countless blows, I must imagine.
Yes.
Were they being very careful and selective where they
No. No, they it was it was like they were torturing him at all. They did not hold back in any way.
Where did where did they
at some point, sorry?
Where did they hit you?
In my face, in my stomach, in my chest, just anywhere their hands could land. At some point it just felt like just some sick game, because one of them would ask me a question, I would try to answer, and then the other one would literally just stop me and tell me I think you're going to stop, and the other one will ask me a question, answer me.
So one would ask you a question, as you attempt to answer, the other would hit you and say you are not to talk. That's the way they were doing it?
Yes, and that happened briefly, but overall they were just hitting me this whole time. My whole face was bloody. My eyes were bloodshot. I had blood in my eyes.
Your nose?
And they just continued the whole time. It felt like, it must have been a 30-minute journey, but it felt like 30 years. I felt like I was in that vehicle for a very long time.
Could you take that again? What you're saying is very important, so we should try to get all the information. Could you take that again?
I was just saying the ride must have been, in reality, it must have been a 30-minute journey. But because of the way they were treating me, it just felt like an eternity. It just felt like, you know, as a 15-year-old, I just, you know, that's, you know.
You were confused, correct?
I was so confused because I had no idea what was happening. You can imagine.
Were also in agony.
Yes.
You could not understand why they were doing what they were doing to you.
Yes, it just felt like you just had four grown men just abduct you and start beating you up, and you have no idea why they're doing it. I was extremely confused. And I was pretty sure I was going to die, and it just was feeling, I couldn't process it. I don't know, man. It was devastating. But I didn't even have time to process any of it. I was just trying to deal with the punches that I was receiving from four grown men.
At what stage did the beating stop?
When we got to the NIA office.
Are you suggesting that all the way from Palmarima to Banjul, they were hitting you?
I am absolutely telling you, they tortured me non-stop.
what happened when you arrived at the NIA? Perhaps I'll take it a step backwards. What injuries did you realize you sustained when you arrived at the NIA headquarters?
I have cuts all over my face. I don't know. I must have broken a bone, but I don't know. I I had blood in my eyes, and
where else did you have blood apart from your eyes?
my whole face, my mouth, my nose. My nose bleeds pretty easily in normal circumstances, but just repeatedly uh, receiving blows on my face, it was just it was terrible.
Your face was swollen as well, was it?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So tell us what happened when you arrived at the NIA.
So at this time, I was still confused. By the time we got to the NIA, I kind of had an idea what this might be about because of the questions they were asking me, but I was still a little confused. So when we got there, they put me out of the vehicle and then just threw me in the cell and left.
In your statement, you said, as we approached Denton Bridge, I started praying quietly in between getting hit on my face because I was pretty sure I was going to get killed and dumped in the river. Was it?
Yeah, I had no idea why they would do that. I felt like in my head, because of all these stories that I heard, I just felt like these people, they never let anybody just walk away. So I was pretty certain I was going to get killed. For some reason, I don't even know what was happening at the time, but I was pretty sure I was going to happen for some reason.
Now let's talk a little bit about the questions that they were asking you.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about that?
So they asked a bunch of questions that most of which I don't even remember because they were so relevant and most of them didn't make any sense to me at the time because none of it just made sense to me. So they some of the questions that I still remember them asking who my parents were, what their political affiliations were, what parties they supported, what part of the country they're from.
It's getting a little bit difficult to hear what you're saying, but let me take it from your statement and see whether you would confirm this. You were asked who you were working with. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a question they did ask me, who I was working with. And that was really confusing to me.
How did you feel about that question?
It's just like somebody just asking you a question, you have no idea what it is or what they're talking about. I just didn't even know what to say.
Could you take that again? You are a 15-year-old schoolboy, and you are being beaten and asked who you are working with. How did you feel when you heard those questions?
I very confused, to keep it short.
And you were asked about your parents.
Yes.
And what political party they supported.
Yes, they did ask that.
So how did you feel about all these questions?
Again, super confused because none of it made sense. It seemed like it was leading anywhere. And they started talking like I am a computer hacker because the questions kind of started going in that direction. I think they thought I was some sort of computer hacker, and I was so confused because none of it made sense. They were asking questions about who I was working with to sabotage the government and questions like that. None of it made sense to me.
Oops. Thank you. Did they say anything about Freedom newspaper?
Yes, they did.
And what if any, did they say about the Freedom newspaper?
So they asked, I think they asked if I knew, who I'm working with in Freedom newspaper. And initially, the name Freedom newspaper was confusing to me because it still hadn't clicked in my head what Freedom newspaper was until probably by the end of the trip or when I got there or something like that at the NIA office.
So tell us what happened when you arrived at the NIA office.
Basically, they just put me in this cell. They kind of just left me with two other guys that kind of just pushed me around a little bit and then threw me in the cell and then left with the security guard.
Were you also beaten at the NIA office?
Yes, while we were walking into the NIA office, those four guys, and then the guys they handed me over to.
And what did that beating entail?
It's just a quick slap here and there, and just hitting me here and there until I finally found my way in the cell.
Okay. And tell us about where you were detained at the NIA.
So I was thrown into the cell. I was still confused at this time. It was extremely bright in there. A lot of mosquitoes. I couldn't tell what time of the day it was, and it was extremely dirty in there. And they just left me there and walked away.
Was it a comfortable place to be placed in?
Absolutely not. It was not.
What were the discomforts?
First of all, there are a bunch of pee bottles, bottles laying all over the place with urine in them.
Okay. Let me go through these little things. Were you detained together with other people?
No, I was alone.
You were alone. Okay. In that room, would you call it a room or would you call it a cell?
It's a cell. There's nothing. There's no comfort in there. There are no chairs or anything. I sat on the concrete.
What were the discomforts of the cell?
I had nowhere to sit. There were like pretty much a million mosquitoes. I had to cover myself with the stretchy shirt that I had. I couldn't sleep, of course, from the pain. My face was swollen, and I was still bloody all over. Very uncomfortable. There was no way I could sleep. I just stayed up all the way morning. I couldn't tell it was morning. I was only able to tell that it was morning when I kind of heard people outside.
Were you given access to medical attention?
No.
Were you given access to the services of a lawyer?
No.
Were you afforded the opportunity to speak to your parents?
I was not.
Were you questioned at all while at the NIA?
Not that night. I was the following day.
The following day, when you were being questioned, was it visible to the questioner that you had injuries?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was no way of hiding that.
Why do you say that?
Because it was visible on my face. You could tell I was being tortured. I was tortured.
Okay. Did the questioner offer to give you or let you access medical attention?
No.
Did the questioner give you the opportunity to have your parents present before you were questioned?
No, they did not.
And is it your testimony that they just went ahead to question you without respecting any of the rights that would normally be accorded to a child or a juvenile who is in custody?
Yes. Yes, they just interviewed me in their office.
Did they treat you any different from an adult, as far as you know?
So these people I'm talking about were the people that were in the offices, different from the people that brought me in.
Yes, but
I think it was the guy that was running the NIA.
I'm not talking about being tortured or being rough handled. I am talking about your being processed as a person suspected of having committed a crime. Did they treat you any different from they would an adult?
I don't think so. I don't know how the procedures were at the time or what the procedures were, but I don't think there was nothing different.
As a child at the time, you had certain important rights that ought to have been respected.
Okay.
One is you should be given the chance to speak to your parents. Was that done?
It wasn't until I was released.
They cannot question you without somebody who occupies the position of parent being
But they
present.
did.
Was that done?
Yeah, they did question me.
You were not given the opportunity to talk to a lawyer before you even speak to them, correct?
I was not. I was not.
And these are all fundamental violations of the rights of a child in detention.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
During your period of detention, did you at any time have to be in the same place or being detained together with adults?
No, I did have contact with people that worked there at the time, specifically the security guard.
Maybe that is one of the few areas they did not violate, but let's proceed. Okay, what happened afterwards? You were at the NIA, you were thrown into a very bright cell. You woke up in the morning after having fought against the mosquitoes all night. And what happened after that? The securities came and questioned you, and the men left. What happened afterwards?
The security, I spoke with him right after they brought me in at night. And
at night, okay. Do you know who was the leader of these men that tortured you?
yes, I did, and I was only able to know that because of the security the guy that was in charge of security at the time. It was an older gentleman that asked who my parents were, and he luckily knew them. And I think either that same day or the following day or whatever, he came to our house and told my parents, the people that brought me in, and didn't want my parents to mention that he came to our house, but he did mention the people that brought me in and who was leading me.
And what name was your parents given?
The guy that was leading them was named Tumbul Tamba.
Did you know this name before?
Actually, I'm not sure. I don't think I did. I don't think I did. It probably was.
Did you subsequently get to know about Tumbul Tamba?
Yeah, very well, because he actually ended up living, or at least having a wife or girlfriend or whatever, in our neighborhood, like a street, one street over.
So he ended up, he married a woman near your area?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And I was terrified that I was living close to that guy.
But did you subsequently get to learn more about this person called Tumbul Tamba and some of the things that he did?
Yeah, after what happened to me, I ended up finding out that this is what he does, and it wasn't out of the ordinary. And after a couple of months or a year or so, he ended up getting sick. I heard about that, and I guess it's not going to. That's
Have
the
you,
last time.
have you heard of testimonies at the TRRC about things Tumultamba did? Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have. I'm not quite sure exactly what, but I've definitely heard him. Anytime I hear that name, it just takes me back. And I have heard, I think a couple of people testify and mention his name.
You heard about him being involved in murder, in killings?
Yes.
How did you feel hearing that?
I mean, just lucky to be alive.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, what was this whole investigation about? Did you come to learn about it?
Yeah, at some point on that car ride, they started asking more about the Freedom newspaper. And I guess at some point in that journey, it clicked where I knew that website from. So it's extremely silly. This was a website that was mentioned to me by my mom in passing, I think, and she mentioned that they have kind of like gossip and like the news and all of that on there.
Could you take that again?
I think she mentioned that maybe check it out. I think they have some political news on there at some point, and then I did.
Who mentioned that?
My mom. I didn't even know about the website at all.
So your mom
I think it was.
Let's get this clear. Your mom wanted you to access the website for her, right?
Not necessarily wanted me to access it. I think I just heard her mention it one day, and then I just thought, just check it out.
Okay, your mom mentioned the website one day.
Mm-hmm.
Curious young man wanted to know what is on the website, and you accessed it. Is that
Yes.
it?
Yes. Yes.
How many times?
That was it.
How many times did you access it?
The fact that I couldn't even remember the name of the website tells you that I wasn't on that website a lot. So what had happened was the first time I logged on to that website, I don't know what even compelled me to create an account. I think they must have popped up or whatever happened. For some reason, I never do. Nobody ever does. Nobody ever creates an account like a newsletter. For some reason, I did, and I just quickly typed in Baba. My name was Baba. It was so weird, and that's where the name. He was calling me a Baba on the phone call. I thought it was so weird. When I was creating that account, I have my name Baba on there. For some reason, I actually.
Let's
I don't.
take that again. Let's take that again.
Mm-hmm.
You say you went to the website and something popped up. You just
I'm guessing because I don't even remember me creating that account, but I did. Clearly.
You instinctively created an account. You gave
Yes.
the name Baba. And then what happened after that?
And so when he called, I guess that's where he got all of my name and my information from. I think it was just my name, really. I think I used Baba, first name Baba, last name. Probably I was in a hurry to just get that page off my face. Probably, I don't even know how I came to even create that account. And that was it. I just checked the news and looked off. That was it. I never even went back to that website. That's why I couldn't even remember when they were interrogating me.
So did you ultimately realize that what they were looking for is information about you using or having accessed that website in the past?
Yes, so they started calling me a computer hacker, and I'm a bachelor's working with foreign nationals to sabotage the German government. A bunch of ridiculous things to say to a 15-year-old.
So they suggested that
Yeah.
you are working with foreign nationals against the government of the Republic of the Gambia. Is that it?
Yeah.
How did you
Yes,
respond
they
to that
did.
charge? How did you respond to that charge?
It was almost comical because like a 15-year-old, what kind of information could I get from the Gambian government, from the State House? How could I access those information?
Do you think, as a 15-year-old child being interrogated about these things at that time, did it occur to you that it was foolish to really charge a 15-year-old about those things? Did you
Yes.
feel like that?
Even at the time, I thought it was really foolish. The guy kept calling me a computer hacker. I had a flash drive on my neck. He yanked it out of my, yanked it from my neck, and started just accusing me of things that I had no idea what he was talking about.
Did you make it obvious to them that you are only 15 years old and that you had no clue what they were talking about?
You know, I don't think they need any help realizing that. I was as a 15-year-old. I was, yes, I was. It was pretty clear that I couldn't have been more than 15 or 16.
And how did they respond to the information you provided them?
It didn't seem like they was registering because first of all they seemed intoxicated. So nothing I was saying made any sense to them really.
You mean they were intoxicated? That's the word you use. They were either on
Yes.
drugs or on alcohol.
Something, yeah.
They were high. How do you know that?
Absolutely, there was no doubt.
How did you know that?
First of all, I could smell. First of all, there was definitely alcohol. I could smell alcohol, and whatever else they took, I don't know. And the way they were slaughtering their words, they were threatening me in weird ways. At one point, one of the guys pulled out this metal rod and he threatened me to give me an electric shock and would kill me.
Could you
It's
take
just
us by that again? Could you take us by that again? They tried to electrocute you. Is that what you said?
yeah, he pulled this metal rod that he said, can they charge electricity? And he was pretty much just threatening me with it. And he actually ended up hitting me with it. He didn't shock me with it. But the way they were just speaking, it just didn't seem like they were coherent at all.
Okay. So they hit you with the electric cables, but they did not get to electrocute you, right?
It was a rod, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. So, and for how long did this continue?
Throughout the whole car ride, really. I mean, it was just throughout the whole car ride.
But while you were at the NIA being questioned the following day, did you and the interrogators arrive at any conclusion as to what must be done?
We did not. I just explained exactly what happened, and I guess it made sense to them that there was no way I was this computer hacker they were talking about, and that I had no knowledge of any secret government information, and they actually treated me pretty well in the office. And they got me lunch and just kind of go. At the time, my parents were outside waiting somewhere. My parents came to pick me up.
Okay. Did you get to meet with any of the senior officials at the NIA?
Yes, they were the ones that were interrogating me. They were, I think it was actually the guy that was running the NIA at the time with his deputy.
What's his name?
I don't remember.
You don't remember. Okay. All right. And were they satisfied with the answers you provided?
I believe so, because they let me go.
So you only stayed overnight at the NIA, correct?
Yes.
Did they say anything to you prior to being released?
No, they were pretty nice. They told me to stay in school. They went through my emails to see if there was any suspicious activity going on, and they just encouraged me to stay in school, and that was it. You know, they said they were impressed by me.
Did they say, but did they look into your emails?
Yes, they did.
Did they find anything incriminating?
No, there was nothing.
So what did they say about their actions?
I think the fact that I was tortured, I feel like it felt excessive to them. I think I'm not sure how they felt, but that's what I think. Especially being
in your statement, you suggested that this situation was a big misunderstanding.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what it kind of came to, really, because none of it, what they were investigating, they didn't find anything. So I guess they thought it was a misunderstanding, and they let me go.
And
But I wouldn't call it a misunderstanding. I would call it
well, they chose to torture you before they questioned you.
yeah, it was done. So if you call being tortured misunderstanding, I don't know what to say to that.
Must have been a relief leaving the NIA.
Yeah, it was.
And
yes, it was. Walking out of that NIA premises, it was just going from a couple of hours ago, thinking you're going to die, and next day walking out.
What impact did this have on you after you left the NIA premises?
In all honesty, it was actually walking out of that office was the beginning of still my frustration.
Could you take that again, please?
I said walking out of the NIA office was pretty much the beginning of some of my struggle.
In your statement, you said as follows: I thought leaving that office would be the end of my struggles, but it was the start of a long journey of anxiety and depression.
Yeah. At the time, I probably didn't even have the language to. I probably didn't understand what I was going through at the time, but now, looking back, I was absolutely depressed and anxious. I tried to. Sorry.
And you went on to say, I couldn't concentrate in school for weeks, fearing that they would come back for me.
Yeah. Crazily enough, none of my friends noticed or knew about it, especially since it was on the newspaper, one of the local newspapers. I guess 15-year-olds don't really read the newspaper.
Yes, it was reported. It was reported in the newspapers. In fact, I have here this post. Is it Bantaba Cyberspace? An article by Boubacar Kesau. It says arrested teenager alleges torture. Are you aware of that newspaper?
Yes. I think it was actually taken from a Florida newspaper article.
Yes, and it is a story about you, and it says a 14-year-old child, name withheld, was arrested on Tuesday evening by security officers. And it went on to say, narrating his ordeal, the child who resides in Serekunda said he received a phone call on Tuesday evening, and the caller told him that there are guests from America who brought something for him. He said the caller indicated that the guest wanted him to go and collect the provisions at Palm Grove Hotel that evening. He said he was accompanied to Palm Grove Hotel by his father. He said on arrival at the hotel that evening, they met one lieutenant and 5 other soldiers. The child said he was asked his age, the school he attends, the party his father supports, and whether he is Jaranka. He said he told them that his father supports the UDP and that he is from Jara, a region in LRD. He said at that juncture, the officers started beating him and was beaten on their way to the NIA headquarters. Is that your story?
So that story was written by a relative that actually came to visit us as a concerned relative. And, we never gave consent to show the story just by, pretending, I guess, that he was just there to visit me. And he went ahead and told the story. You can see in the bottom of that page you're looking at, there were some retractions. My dad wasn't really happy about the fact that he came to visit us and then went on to
Let me try to recast what I believe you said.
So some of those were not very right.
Yes. You said this was published by a family friend who visited your home and got this information, but he published it without your family's authorization. Is that what you just said?
There was no way we were going to authorize that.
Yes. And in fact, in that publication or soon after, a retraction was put on the paper by the author. He said, following the publication of the above caption, Hijenke S. KANYI, the father of the said child, walked into our office and demanded a retraction. Then he went ahead to explain how that happened. So that's the story you referred to, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, we would ask to exhibit the document. It should be Exhibit 169. And how did all this feel to you afterwards? And how did it impact your schooling?
Honestly, just being in school, just thinking that there are people that could possibly be outside waiting for you. I would normally, on a normal basis, I would wait outside for a driver to come and pick me up. But I was really scared of somebody picking me up.
You were traumatized by the event?
Extremely traumatized. I was always over my shoulders. And I would come home crying to my brothers and my parents. There was no way I guess it could ever be for me.
If your parents, how did they feel about this whole incident?
Oh man, I can only imagine how my mom walked home that night. I just don't wish something like that. I mean, I guess she could she could say how she felt. I don't know how she really felt, but I can imagine what she must have felt. My dad, I'm pretty sure, same way. It must have been really difficult. My dad would always take me everywhere, even for months really. And we actually ended up thinking that we would get some vacation abroad because I was a very sheltered person, and I don't really, at the time I didn't really verbalize a lot of the things I was going through, and they were just done all they could to make sure I was okay.
Good. You've been to Gambia while TRRC was on, but you did not want to testify. Say you've been to Gambia on holiday whilst the TRRC was operating, and you did not come to give a statement.
Yeah.
After you gave a statement, you indicated that there are people with worse things that happens to them.
Yeah.
They don't need, the TRRC you suggested did not need your story. But upon further reflection, you arrived at the conclusion that it is important that your story be known to show the indiscriminate and seemingly boundless brutality that people went through. And that's the reason why you're testifying.
Yeah, because initially I thought about it because this is something I went through. I thought about actually testifying, but just looking at the kind of stories that were, the kind of stories I was seeing, I just felt like I just didn't go through enough. I mean, a lot of people just lost their lives. I just felt like the fortune release wasn't enough to come forward. But then again, I was a 15-year-old, so it was a different perspective. So I just came to the conclusion that it would be a good idea to actually just show or tell, you know.
And your motivation for doing that is to show that no 15-year-old deserves to be treated like that. No matter.
Yeah, I feel like as a 15-year-old, the only thing you should be worried about is what games you're going to be playing and what friends you're going to be hanging out with and what girls you're going to be following and stuff. Not, not being kidnapped literally by your government that's, supposed to protect you.
Did I hear you to say that no 15-year-old deserves to be treated like that, being kicked and being beaten by their own government? That's what you said, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much. No further questions from me. I hand over the wisdom
Thank you.
to the chair for any other questions you may have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And my exhibit, Mr. Chair, the document, if accepted, should be Exhibit 169.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about 169. Is that the request is granted, Council?
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, and also Mr. KANYI. Thank you. It was very early in Seattle at the moment for agreeing to come and testify before the TRRC. Oh, yeah, there's no translation, sorry. So there was a translation. Thank you again very much. You must have gone through outrageous, I mean, the ordeal. 15-year-old being...
Yeah, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually quickly forgave him and moved on because that's the only thing I could do. It happened, and just move on.
And you had all the protection of the law from that kind of treatment, being meted out to a minor.
Yeah, none of that was protection. Yeah, like I said, as a 15-year-old or as just as a citizen, it doesn't matter how old you are. Your government should be worried about protecting you, giving you clean water, good roads, good schools, not torturing you.
I hope
that was very difficult.
I hope a recovery from that trauma wasn't too long and odious.
Yeah, I would months after this happened, getting scared, being anxious about people, looking over my shoulder. It was very difficult. As clearly, I've never been through anything traumatizing. Just being in that car and just feeling like you're going to die. The only other time I felt that terrible was the day I went to die.
But the nightmares have gone now, or do you get back to that feeling from time to time, or what?
Yes, from time to time you would come back. And I would be anxious, but I just like worrying my parents too much. So never really verbalized anything. I just kind of kept it in and moved on. I think it happened. Tried to do it the best I could and just move on.
Torturing anybody is not justified, but torturing minors is even less justified. How do you feel?
Yeah, just devastated. Again, it's really, it's like these people, literally, if somebody was coming from another country or wherever, these are the people that should be in the front line, protecting people. They didn't.
Yeah. Thank you very much again. You have
Thank you.
sympathy. Commissioners, if you have any questions, please indicate. Otherwise, Mr. KANYI, if you have any concluding remarks to make, please proceed to make them now.
I mean, I'll just keep it really short. But the only reason I came again was to show people a different perspective of what happened and how we just kind of remind people how we kind of need to make sure these things don't happen again. To make sure that we never have a TRRC. Make sure that this is the first and last TRRC we have. I think it's really important this new constitution we're currently working on. Make sure that we have institutions in place that don't give any one person limited power. I think it's a recipe for disaster. Give one person unlimited power, and because I feel like we've made progress. There's still a lot of things in the country that are still taking. I feel like, God forbid, if the current president wanted to be like the previous one, I feel like that our legal systems are going to let him be the same way. And for the future generations, I just hope come up with systems that absolutely prevent anybody from having the kind of power our president did. Have unfettered access to all of our funds and just be brutal to your own citizens. And I just pray future 15-year-old, Gambian 15-year-old, the only thing that they need to worry about is great things, great companies they're going to build and not worry about what jungle is going to take them away and almost kill them. I thank you guys for having me on, and I thank everybody on the panel. Thank you very much.
We should be the ones, Summer, to thank you for coming to assist us in the mandate that we have to create a historical record of violations and abuses that occurred. Sorry, Council, you have a point of order?
Yes, before you close, Mr. Chair, just to say that what he said is so important. I could only hear a bit of it. I would just suggest that he writes it and send it to the Commission so that we could have it all on the record. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good suggestion.
And
thank you again very much, Mr. KANYI, for coming to
one last thing.
At the end of our proceedings, for today, we will resume tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock sharp. Thank you all very much, Mr. KANYI. Thank you. I hope you're able to get back to sleep, and we will resume tomorrow morning. Thank you again. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.